Heavy is the head that has to manage all of this.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel.
We're now incentivized to buy what we already buy.
Fumbling through college had me building.
I also got some done on the other side.
And that was right around, I would say, May, maybe, right before renewing the lease for this property.
Welcome to the channel, Martha.
Thank you for having me here.
Oh, I was going to say, I am getting up there in age, I'll tell you what.
Bills paid by other people, life was never this good. I had to step back, knowing that it's...
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk about how it feels to really be successful. Now, success is going to be different for everyone, and I completely understand if you gauge success in more ways than one, some in a spiritual manner, some in a relationship manner, some in a financial manner. This is purely financial. And so if you don't necessarily agree with success being about finance, then that is absolutely okay. But the first thing, I'm going to do a quick recap on when I actually started to believe I was successful as an individual. Now, there were plenty of instances in my life that shaped me to be who I am today and shaped a lot of the opportunities that I've had and currently still have. I'm going to run through them, and then I'll tell you exactly when I felt I was successful. I'll stop and I'll let you know, hey, this is when I absolutely believed I became successful. So when I got my first job at 18, I was still working and going to school and playing football. Not successful yet. Living with my mom, paying her $200 a month in rent. Absolutely nothing. I completely understand. But I was still in Brooklyn, New York City. Then went away to college, started working on my own, living a little cheaply and modestly, but I was broke, college student, paying for books, classes, all that stuff. Wasn't successful yet. Graduated college, I took about a semester off of working towards the end, and so I graduated with no money, but also no debt. Wasn't successful yet, had a bachelor's degree. Went back to New York, was working 3 jobs, had a job offer from Amazon pending for January. Wasn't successful yet. Got the job at Amazon, was working salary pay positions with bonuses that were as much as my salary, unbelievable pay, all that stuff during COVID and everything else. Got my own 2-bedroom apartment, was not successful yet. Went into the restaurant industry, was making more money, but my time was all into the restaurant industry, wasn't successful yet. Bought my first house while in the restaurant industry. Wasn't successful yet. Went into the Army, came out with benefits, with honorable discharge, a lot more resources at my disposal, but was not successful yet. I started working at Chase Bank. Actually, I started working at another restaurant, which paid me at least as much as what the previous restaurant industry was paying me. Now with military benefits, already had a house rented out, and then I purchased my second home. Wasn't successful yet. Then I invested about $15,000 in furniture, all this stuff that you see now, in order to set up my home for success. And then I saved at least 10 grand as an emergency fund while holding down a job. I transitioned into Chase mortgage lending. I was making $65,000 a year. Now I have military benefits. I have a rental property. I have a home to live in. I have a good paying job. And I also have, just a good life in general. And at that point, I felt like I was successful. At that point, I felt like, okay, I got my investments working for me. I have stocks, 401k. I have a emergency fund. I have a rental property, I have a primary residence, I have military benefits, I don't have to pay for health care. Like, life is really good at this point. I got a paid off car, and then I transitioned into like the office space, the workforce, healthcare industry, which I have a degree in. And, I was just able to continue to build up from there. So obviously the savings increase, my stocks increase, paying down all my mortgages and debt. And over time, I have all these assets under management. I'm already successful back then, but now it's starting to multiply, is starting to compound, right? We all know what compound interest is, the seventh wonder of the world. And so I absolutely, sorry, my mic is about to die, so we'll just keep going until that happens. But let me take a look and make sure. So at that point, I'm like, okay. Everything is good. Let me start looking at relationships. Let me start looking at other things that pertain to my life that I want for my life. But let's talk about the bad now that comes with being successful, at least financially. When I was growing up, not much was asked of me. I just had to show up. I just had to be there. I was mainly a bodyguard for most people growing up. I was an athlete, football player, all this stuff. And, just crack some jokes, hang around my people. We all made around the same money, which was no money at all. And so when we would go to Burger King or just hang out, we would all just order our own food and we'll chill. But now in this day and age, people kind of look at me with a look like, hey, we're not as rich as you. Maybe you should buy our lunch. Hey, we traveled here or we traveled there. Maybe you should take care of us. These are just weird conversations. And it's not always like the younger generation, people who are younger than me, because honestly, I'm one of I hang around a much older group. The only young person that I really hang around is typically my little brother, which I would expect that from. But everybody else is much older than me. So it is honestly kind of like a weird situation when you have people older than you looking for a handout from you. That's kind of interesting. So I find myself doing more relationships where that's not necessarily the case. I do have some friends where that is not necessarily the case. They may not be where they want to be financially, but at least they hold their own and they do their own when in a social setting or in a social environment, just to hang out, just to be around one another. Now, we're not all going to love and want to do the same things, right? I come from New York City. I'm a city boy. I'm not a more rural guy. Ohio can be a city, but still rural environment, not as fast paced, things like that. And so there's going to be things that people want to do that I'm not necessarily interested in. And that can be a turnoff as well, since I don't necessarily want to participate in their activities. But with that being said, there are people who are just going to want to be around you and be in your presence. But now you have that extra layer of, people who are expecting you to produce for them. Hey, it's my birthday. You got to do this, and that. They're not necessarily going to go all out and say it. But I've had people, girlfriends reach out to me like, hey, it's so-and-so's birthday. You got anything planned for them? I'm like, aren't you the girlfriend? Aren't you supposed to be planning this? Or aren't you the boyfriend? Aren't you supposed to be planning this? And so it's very weird. Like, okay, this is the successful guy. He must do this. He must do that. It is very eye-opening. Some of the things that I see and hear these days. And so, I'll even give an example. Today is actually the 4th of July as I'm making this video. And last year I threw a big party and I invited a lot of people over. But this year I decided, you know what? I kind of wanted to throw one, even though it was last minute. But after speaking it over with my girl, we decided we're not going to throw one. It was almost expected that we threw another one, which I completely understand. But, she said something like to the effect of, hey, why not somebody else throw a party this year? You threw one for the entire neighborhood. Why doesn't somebody else pick up the ball? And I'm not one of those people who are like, let's do an exchange. I do one this year, you do one that year. I'm not one of those people. If I do something, it's from the kindness of my heart and that only. I'm not necessarily looking to, say, hey, I did this for you, so you must do this for me. No, that's not how I operate. But, it's an expectation that is placed on you like, hey, because you did this, you must continue to do this. It's almost like a celebrity. You donate once, you must donate forever, right? You donate to St. Jude 5 times, well, you must continue to continue to do that, although everybody else isn't participating as much as you are. And so, that's kind of the experience that I've had so far. Now, outside of my YouTube channel, I don't feel like I really talk about money at all, to be honest with you. I don't really bring it up in conversation. I really just talk about my music. I talk about, life in general. I talk about activities that I am involved in. Me and my little brother, all we talk about is working out and exercise and girls, like my older brother, all we talk about is how he's doing, how's his day and his relationship. And so I try to foster relationships just based off of, a life in general. But yeah, family is always going to be family. So they don't look at me like the bag, right? But everybody's family is different. You may have family who always need something from you, which can be okay, as long as it's not too much of a toxic situation. But there's definitely people in situations where they are the end all be all, and they may not be as successful financially, but they're still the protectors, providers. They must, support and really do everything for that family unit. I know plenty of people who are working in warehouses right now where they have families back home in Africa and they still have to support that. And they have families in America, which they must support here. And, you can say, hey, that was a choice, right? You didn't have to impregnate all these people. But at the end of the day, that is the reality of what many people are living through. And it would be insensitive to just say, it's your life, deal with it. More so, this is the reality of what many people are going through. And, they're still going to be held accountable to fulfill their obligations, or at least hold themselves accountable to fulfill those obligations. Because truthfully, nobody can hold you accountable. If you want to be a bum, if you want to just never work again, if you want to just be on the street panhandling, you can absolutely do that. Nobody can stop you from doing that. But, people do 9 times out of 10 hold themselves accountable for their own actions and for their own life. And they try to step up and be better. And so that's all we're looking for in this world, is to continuously improve, even for me, and work on being the best version of ourselves. But if you like this video, if you like to know a little bit more about my experience, let me know in the comment section down below. I really do appreciate you all tuning in, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace.